Hey everybody, it's John with Big Rig Bass Fishing. So summer's coming to an end and fall is slowly trickling in. But that means deer season's right around the corner. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit away from bass fishing for a week or two. And I'm going to concentrate on prepping rifles for deer season. Because here in Indiana, the regulations have changed. Which is going to allow us to use modern rifles. Because of that, I'm going to do a little series on medium to long range shooting. It's something I'm very passionate about. And I want to ensure that the new hunters coming into rifle hunting here in Indiana understand what it is that they need to do prior to taking a shot that is beyond that normal 100, 200 yard range. Because there's going to be a lot of guys wake up just before deer season and decide they're going to go buy them a rifle and they're going to be able to finally get that buck that's been crossing the field at 300-400 yards, and they're either going to make a bad shot, an unethical shot, or an unsafe shot. Excuse me. So I want to do what I can to educate as many people as possible. So I'm going to do a whole series. We're going to break it down Barney style. We're going to do 100 yard zero. We're going to go into the weapons, the optics that are necessary to be able to make a longer range shot. Yes, the scopes at Walmart are okay. They'll do the job. But there are certain steps that you need to take to understand what it is that you need to be able to make a shot that far. We're going to go into dope cards. This is just one that I made up for my 300 blackout right here. It's a very, very good caliber to train with. Practice dialing up your windage or your elevation, so on and so forth. Because it's such a slow bullet, the wind affects it a lot, and it has a lot of drop to it. So that's a really good training tool. 22 is also another great training tool. But we're going to go into more of that later on. For right now, we're just going to go through some of the basics of long range shooting. Number one, you got to have a good optic. Yeah, you can go to Walmart or local gun shop and spend a 20, 30. This one here just happens to be $100 and something scope. It's junk. This thing is absolute crap. These scopes have adjustments on them. This one here is an 1/8 of an MOA, or 1/8 of a minute of angle, which is equal to 1 inch at 100 yards. What's really important is having a scope that will give you the adjustment that you want. This one here, it claims 1/8 of an inch per click, or per tick mark here on the scope. These ones here do not have true what they call tracking. So you dial this one here 1 minute of angle, it might give you 1.5 minutes. It might give you 3/4 of a minute or inch at 100 yards. But there are more economic friendly alternatives, like this one right here. This is a primary arms 4x14. It is a front focal plane scope, which means your reticle is going to stay the same size in reference to your target throughout your magnification range. So as I increase my magnification from 4 power to 14 power, my reticle is going to increase in size. I'm going to zoom in on my reticle, but the reticle is staying true to the target. So mil dot reference, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the dots inside the scope. If my target measures from the center of the crosshair to that first dot at 4 power, it's going to measure from that center of the crosshair to that first dot even at 14 power. That's basically what a front focal plane scope does. A second focal plane, back to this one here, as I increase my magnification, the reticle is going to remain the same size in the scope itself. So the measurements are going to change on my target as I increase in magnification. So that's just a couple things that we're going to touch on during this video series. We're also going to go into caliber selection and your limitations on game size at varying distances. For instance, this 300 blackout right here. Chamber open, nothing inside. It's completely safe. This 300 blackout is a great option for deer hunting, especially for youth and women that are recoil shy, because this thing has the recoil of about a .22 Magnum. But this thing here is not something you're going to kill a deer with at 800 yards. It's a 223 casing with a 30 caliber bullet that weighs 110 grains. That's what I use for deer hunting with this particular firearm. It's a great 150 to 200 yard rifle in most people's hands for deer. I have reached out to 250 on out to 500, but only on steel and paper targets. I shot a deer with this one here last year at about 175 yards. He was DRT the moment the bullet hit him. But reaching on out to further ranges, here's another good option. This is the Remington Model 700, chambered in .243 Winchester. This rifle is more than capable of taking game, deer-sized game, out as much as 800. But in most people's hands, about 300 yards is about the max. But there are going to be guys that go out and buy one of these, and they're going to try to reach out to 600-700 yards, and they have no idea what they're doing. And that's my inspiration for this video series. Another really important aspect of it is your ammunition choice. You can't go out there with a 223 and a 55 grain full metal jacket and expect to put a deer-sized animal down at 300 yards. You've got to match your bullet size and bullet type based upon the game that you're hunting. And that's another thing I really want to preach about in this video series. Using the right bullet for the job makes a big difference. Out of this rifle right here, this is a Savage Model 10 in .223. I've used this rifle to take deer out as far as 726 yards. Wasn't a planned shot. It just it happened. It was a deer that I couldn't pass up. I'll try to roll a picture of that one into the video. But it was one that I knew I was capable of doing. I was capable of taking that shot and putting the animal down quickly. It was a one shot. Deer hit the ground right where I hit him. So it was very ethical. The deer didn't suffer. But that's neither here nor there. But for .223, you really need to keep your bullet weight above, and I say this again, above 60 grains for anything larger than coyotes. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go out and kill an elk with this thing. It ain't going to happen. There are some bullets that could possibly do it, but nothing that I would feel comfortable doing or using. But anyways, so tomorrow or Friday, I'm going to go out to one of the ranges and I'm going to go through zeroing. I'm also going to go through this certain targets that you should use, especially to get your 100-yard zero. You want that aiming point to be as refined as possible. Aiming at a center dot on a bullseye, it's not going to cut it. You need something very refined. And I'm going to go through that, and then I'm also going to do the 100-yard zero. And then we'll go into building the dope cards. We're also going to go into using tools like a rangefinder. This is going to be your best friend when you're first starting out. Depending upon the optic that you choose and the reticle that you choose. Some reticles you can range with. Some of them are designed specifically to range game, whereas others are meant for more of a combat role in the military. So I hope you all will leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If there's something specific that you want to know about, I will be more than happy to touch on it. I'm also going to include my email address in the description. And throughout the video series, I will be linking all the equipment that I reference in the description for you guys. So hopefully you guys send me some comments and stay tuned. And hopefully I'll be able to teach y'all something. Catch you next time.